they ran the football in the first half, don't get me wrong, but I thought in the second half you really saw us commit to the run, say, hey, we're just going to bully Vanderbilt at this point. Like, we're going to give Kevin Harris the football. I agree with you 110%. He is RB1. There's no question in my mind. And I talked to Monday's show. My biggest takeaway, Alex, from the game, and the one thing I learned, my biggest takeaway is this offense needs to run through Kevin Harris. He as good as Shi Smith is and Colin Hill's been solid, I think the running game is so important. It needs to all go through Kevin Harris. He is a legitimate number one back. Is he as good as Marshawn Lloyd would have been? I don't know, because I said that when they lost him that, how are they going to replace Marshawn Lloyd? I truly expected to be running back by committee, but he has been a really nice surprise, and I think he's truly your number one back. I'll ask you, when you look at Kevin Harris's game, obviously you were on the team with some really, really good running backs. I just had Mike Davis on the podcast a week or so ago. You played with Corey Boyd. Dacus Turman's another name nobody thinks about. I think maybe Kenny Miles was on the team when you were there.
He was.
Yeah, and I said on the show, and I said on social media, I think Kevin Harris, to me, just from what we've seen through 3 weeks, he's the best Gamecocks running back South Carolina has had since Mike Davis. Not the OG Mike Davis, the latest version of Mike Davis, but when you look at Kevin Harris's game, what are things you like, things you see, and maybe, guys, how does he compare to maybe some other guys, other Carolina backs that you've seen?
He just gets going downhill as soon as he gets the ball, so he's not somebody that's going to dance around. And I think comparing him to, those other backs you just mentioned, he's probably 25 pounds bigger than all of them were. And I think that makes a huge difference. So, and obviously he's not to this level currently, but I mean, like, you look at him, I would compare him more to, probably Mike Davis too, or even on some respects, Marcus, just because of that size and how downhill he gets just as soon as he gets the ball.
No, for sure. I love what I'm seeing from Harris. Like, he's a guy that first contact is not going to stop him. You're going to need a convoy to get Kevin Harris down. Hey, I thought he showed the speed too on that 88-yard rushing touchdown for sure. Defensively, again, the takeaways for the defense. Again, you did what you should have done. You really stymied Vanderbilt, and you took advantage again of a bad Vanderbilt offense. Let's call it what it is. You had a true freshman quarterback. Cam Johnson's a decent receiving option for them, but they lost their top receiver and their top running back, and they have a true freshman quarterback. I think there are probably still some holes and issues in the secondary that need to be fixed. You saw the one drive in the third quarter where they really just methodically went down the field and kind of exposed your secondary. But I'll ask you, just as a whole, the Gamecocks defense, I just read a stat on Twitter. They only missed 2 tackles in the game, which very, very good improvement. But I think, again, that's what's going to happen when you go from playing the playmakers of Florida to Vanderbilt. But I'll just ask you, as a whole, Ernest Jones, Jamie Robinson were a couple guys that were fantastic. J.C. Horn continues to do J.C. Horn things. For whatever reason, Israel McQuamu didn't play in the second half. But, again, Cam Smith with a little bit of redemption at the end of the game gets his first interception. What you saw from the South Carolina defense, is there anything you saw you can really build off of? Because, again, I'm hesitant to all of a sudden say, this Gamecock defense turned the corner. I mean, it's Vandy. We knew what they had coming in. They had no offensive weapons. And, heck, to play devil's advocate, even against Vandy, there was a lot of bend but don't break in that game, a lot of it. I mean, you had to stop them 4th and goal. Vandy very well could have been leading that game at different points, or at least I think it could have been a tie game going into halftime. But your overall takeaways from what you saw from the Gamecocks defense on Saturday?
I'm kind of with you on that, to where I don't know that there's anything we necessarily learned about this defense, but from an execution standpoint, like going out there and holding an opponent, again, a conference opponent to 7 total points and only missing 2 tackles, that's something you can build off of. So I think that's the most important thing to take away from our defensive performance against Vandy.
Yeah, I think the biggest goal or at least the number one goal, in my opinion, of that game against Vandy, and Eric Kimry, I saw him talk about a little bit of it on social media, positive momentum, building positive momentum, just having anything to feel good about. It didn't matter who the opponent was. Again, it could have been Coastal, it could have been ECU, but going out and really just beating the hell out of someone else after you had really, 2 really tough opponents the first 2 weeks, call it what it is. Again, I'm not ready to crown Tennessee or anything, but they're a high-quality opponent, no questions asked. So I think it was nice, if nothing else, for the Gamecocks to get that relief, to play somebody they were favored against, they were better than, and get that positive momentum.